It's like to look at a dolphin through her eyes is like a whole nother thing. Because usually I'm fishing, I'm like, oh, look, a dolphin, okay, whatever. But now I'm like, whoa, like you just see it different.
Right.
It's, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
It gives me goosebumps.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. This week, I'm super happy to welcome Chasten Whitfield to the Three Timers Club, meaning this is her third time being on the podcast. If anyone's worthy, it's Chasten. She does such amazing work through her nonprofit organization, Chastenation, giving disadvantaged youth amazing fishing experiences. And she fishes in tournaments too, and it's cool because she fishes salt and freshwater from her center console yellowfin, and I can't wait for you to hear a conversation all about it. Before we get into it, just a couple quick notes. I'm having an absolute blast down in Florida. Special thanks to Amy Lockhart, who will be featured on the podcast soon. We had the opportunity to be on a boat downtown Tampa for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl celebration boat parade. I can't wait for you to meet Amy and hear all about the amazing things she does for women in fishing and for veterans. Our time is sadly winding down here, but also excited because that means we're getting ever so close to rigging up the Lance Mobile Podcast Studio. Before we go, we're heading back down to the Everglades. If you remember from the Stranded on Jewel Key episode 87, this is our first time back to 10,000 Islands since then. So stay tuned for next week's episode to find out if it was as eventful. Hopefully so, but only in a positive way. Okay, that's all for now. Without further ado, welcome back to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, Chastenation, Chasten Whitfield. Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I have a guest on the show, returning guest, and you're in the three-time club now because you were on for when we met at iCast briefly when we talked to a bunch of different ladies. Then we had to have you back on, so that was way back episode 69. And then 10 episodes later, we had to have you back to do a full show, so that was episode 79. And here we are, we're already almost 100 episodes later.
Wow.
Figured it would be high time to have you back on the show. So Chasten Whitfield, welcome back to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, figured we'd catch up. We're right here in Bradenton, and that's where you're hanging out, so it's very convenient.
Yes.
We were visiting Anna Maria Island, and you just happened to see that we were close by, so thought we'd do a quick catch-up interview and see what all's been going on.
Absolutely.
So for people that didn't listen to that episode way back, episode 79 that I mentioned, could you give a little background on who you are and what you do?
I'm Chasten Whitfield. I do a lot of things. I have my own nonprofit and 501c3 called Chastenation, and what Chastenation is, it's a group of anglers that help me take disadvantaged kids fishing. So we take kids fishing who have spina bifida, cancer, all sorts of stuff like that. And we also teach kids how to fish, but we also teach them how to do what's right. So we throw in some life lessons in there and all that good stuff. And I got a full ride scholarship to be on a bass fishing team up in Savannah, Georgia at SCAD called Savannah College of Art and Design. But sadly, my freshman year, they cut us from the program completely, so there's no more fishing team. But now I just travel around South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, and fish FLW tournaments, VFLs, all by myself. I made my own little pink jersey. So actually, a week from today, I'm going to be headed up to South Carolina to fish a tournament up there at Lake Murray.
And talk about your boat, because not a lot of people fish bass tournaments from a boat like that.
Yeah, so I have a 21-foot yellowfin. I'm sponsored by Yellowfin, and it's a hybrid. So it's like you can do inshore, you can go offshore. It's a little bit of everything. You can do freshwater. I do freshwater in it. and it's actually made to fit a wheelchair. So it's like custom made. So the console is moved back so a wheelchair can fit up front so we can take anybody fishing.
Cool. And how has it been bass fishing tournaments with that boat?
It's been amazing. It's been so good. Everyone stares at me a little different. They're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, hi, nice to meet you too. But it's really good. It runs perfectly. So saltwater, I'm the fastest boat. Freshwater, I'm like right in the middle now.
Okay.
I get past, and it's kind of weird. Like, it's all these boats are doing 80. Like, one of my friends fished a tournament against me, and I was boat 24 and she was boat 25. And I was like, hey, go easy on me. She's like, all right. And she passed me doing 79, and she said I still had throttle left. I'm like, okay. But it's an amazing boat. I have my little trolling motor on the front, the saltwater trolling motor from Motor Guide. It's XI5, and I actually have a foot pedal that is Bluetooth. So, you know how all the bass boats have like the foot pedal built in? It's fresh and salt. So for freshwater, I put the Bluetooth foot pedal right there, but then for saltwater, I have a little remote. Okay. So it's like legit best of both worlds. Yeah. It is so good.
Well, the reason I wanted to know about that is because I'm going to be doing some unconventional kind of fishing this year myself. Awesome. I joined the Women's Pro Bass Tour, the Lady Bass Anglers Association.
That's awesome.
And what I like about that is because I work full time. I do this podcast. Well, they only do 4 tournaments a year, so it's makes it to where you're able to actually fish the full schedule, you know, and do other things. So, but I work for Freedom Boat Club, and our Freedom Boat Club Nashville. Our owner is friends with the guy who owns Key West Boats.
Really?
And so we're adding some Key West boats to our fleet in Nashville for members to go out fishing.
That's cool.
And so I'll also be using one of those. And
saltwater.
Yeah. And I'll be taking our members out and showing them like good places to fish. But with that, that's my boat that I'll be fishing the tournaments with.
That's awesome.
So I'm definitely going to get some weird looks.
For sure. For sure. I'm like, is it the pink wrap that's freaking out? He's like, one of the guys like, no, that's saltwater. I'm like, well, yeah. And they're like, what's this? And I'm like, that's called rust. It happens when the salt gets on. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. And this one will have a T-top as well.
Ooh,
so it's really
you got shade.
It's really going to stand out.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
I saw you were recently fishing on Lake Norman. What was that like?
Yes. So my boyfriend actually lives up probably 10 minutes from Lake Norman. And it's very cold. It's not, yes. It's that lake and I have, it's a love-hate relationship. It's like hit or miss. Like one day it'll be good, one day it won't. But I actually have fished up there more freshwater. I fished up there more than I have freshwater here. And it's a whole nother animal. Like going from here, from saltwater to freshwater, I have to like switch my entire brain upside down, and I'm like, okay, bass, bass, bass. I'm like, it's not snook, it's not redfish, it's nothing like that. It's a little bit of it's like the same difference, if that makes sense. But I love it up there. Yeah. It's really nice.
Is that where they had that big Santa Claus tournament? Or was that a different?
Yes, they did have a Santa Claus tournament up there. I was up there, and my boyfriend was like, you want to do this? I'm like, no, I'm not dressing up like... You dressed up like Santa or something? Yes, that was up there.
It looked like a lot of fun.
It did.
I was
going
to try to go. But yeah, that was it. I looked at the forecast, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to drive however many hours it was from Nashville to freeze my butt off.
Yeah.
And it did look like fun. It looked like it was a good event.
Yeah.
And it was for charity, so, you know.
Yeah, but it's a good lake. It's a really cool lake.
Well, cool. So let's talk about fishing around here. So you don't do much freshwater fishing around here. Are there any good freshwater areas nearby?
So the closest lake to here is probably 2.5 hours. And it's either Okeechobee or the Harris Chain up there. Now, there is it's a giant pond, is what I like to call it. It's called Jiggs Landing. Okay. And you're not allowed to get up on planes, so it's like idle only. And that place is pretty good during the warmer months. Right now, with this hot, cold, all the fish are like, bleh, and so are we. We're freaking out too, because we don't know what's going on. So that's why I kind of stick to saltwater here, because freshwater, the weather's so weird and the fish don't know what they're doing. But February, beginning of February, last year they were bedding here in the ponds and all that around here, so I don't know what they're doing right now. Yeah. I haven't checked. I'm in saltwater right now at the moment.
Well, I just fished the Harris Chain. We went out on Lake Eustis and the Dora Canal, and that was really cool. But yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was,
It's weird. Yeah. It's so weird.
But saltwater, awesome.
Oh, yeah.
We went out of Tampa downtown before I had to go back up to Nashville for the weekend, and we just kind of drifted along a mangrove, and every cast is something. And that's what I love about saltwater. It's different species.
Yes.
You know?
You never know what you're going to catch.
So it's so fun. Like, it was ladyfish after ladyfish, then some sheephead mixed in, then all of a sudden a redfish.
Yeah. It's like, yes. Where did this come from?
Yeah.
I was doing an interview the other day, and they're like, tell me about saltwater fishing. I'm like, well, saltwater fishing is like a box of chocolates. You never really know what you're going to get.
That's right.
And I'm like, is that going to be copyrighted? They're like, no, that's perfect. I'm like, all right, cool. But
so let's talk about, you mentioned that recently you had a pretty epic weekend taking some kids out fishing.
Yes.
So I want to hear about that.
Yes. This weekend I took 2 kids fishing. On Saturday, I took a little boy named Ethan fishing. He was 4 years old. He's turning 5 in 13 days. He knew exactly. He was so excited about it. And he was born with heart complications. So he was 2 days old, and he went into open heart surgery, and the bottom of his heart does not beat, so he has to have a pacemaker in, and the complications and all that surgery led to him having a stroke at like 3 years old, 2 or 3 years old. I was like, I didn't even know that was like possible. So he has a pacemaker in now, and it helps. I'm not good with medical stuff. I had the mom explain this. I'm like, so what's going on? And the pacemaker helps like get the rhythm of the heart because the bottom part won't do it itself. So it has to have a battery and wires. And his heart needed so much help from the pacemaker that the batteries usually last up to 10 years. His only did 4. So he had to get it replaced last year. So that was a little tough one. But he can't do any contact sports or anything like that. So the family moved down to Florida, and they're like, well, he can either do golf or fishing. And the mom was like, we don't know anything about golf. So fishing it was. So he went fishing, and he just will not stop doing it. And I took him on Saturday, and he was just catching fish after fish. He had the craziest day. So first he had a 2-piece rod. He brought his own fishing pole because he bought it, and he's like, I want to use my own stuff. I'm like, absolutely. Yeah. So he brought his own fishing pole as a 2-piece. So when he casted it like 7 times, the 8th time it fell off, like it just broke loose a little bit, and he thought that it broke. So I'm like, no, just reel it in. It'll be fine. He reels in a trout off of a dock. Wow. And I've never caught trout off docks before. It's only snook, redfish, sheep's head, that type, flounder, that type of stuff. I've never caught a trout off a dock. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. So then he catches a trout after his rod just broke, and then after that, he was reeling in another trout, and it was probably good sized trout, and then all of a sudden it like grew another like foot, and I'm like, how did it just grow? It was a shark. A shark probably a foot long bit the tail off of a trout. I don't even know how the shark even got, I don't know, but then he had a trout get eaten by a shark, and it was just a crazy day. Yeah. But he's definitely a pro. Fishing is definitely going to be his thing.
That's awesome.
He's hooked on it. He's stuck.
How did you get paired up with him?
So his mom actually found my website and emailed me and said, this is my son. This is what's going on. Can you take him fishing? We just moved here, and explained the whole contact sport thing. And I was like, absolutely, let's do it. Yeah. So we got it in before this weather came in. Yeah, so thank goodness.
Yeah. Was it good? Nice and warm that day.
Yeah. It was like right when the wind started to pick up a little bit. So they were in shorts and like a jacket, but I was in like 2 pairs of pants, 2 hoodies, and a windbreaker. So they're not from here. They moved somewhere to Florida, so they're used to this
cold
weather. But
Well, so for listeners, we are not outside right now because if we were, you would not be able to hear us. It's been incredibly windy down here in Florida for a couple days, or maybe longer. I just got here back here yesterday. So
It started yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Sunday, around 1 o'clock, it picked up.
Okay.
It was like a cold front, and then Sunday night started raining.
Gotcha.
So, and Sundays when I took Izzy fishing. And Izzy is a 12-year-old girl who was she was diagnosed with neuroblastoma when she was 3 or 4 maybe. And it's came back 4 or 5 times. And
what is that?
So neuroblastoma is a type of cancer that forms in certain types of nerve tissue. So, but it can also develop in like the neck, chest, abdomen, spine, all that stuff. So it's usually like kids under 5 years old get it. So like young kids get it. It's like the young kids get hit the hardest. So she has that, and so she's been battling this for pretty much her entire life. And I actually saw her mom's account on Instagram and messaged her and was like, hey, I know you guys, they are from Indiana, I believe, but the hospital's in Ohio. So I was like, hey, I know you guys are pretty far, but if you ever, for some reason, come to Florida, let me know, and I will take her fishing. Like, don't even hesitate, just let me know, and I'll do it. And she was like, well, she actually loves the beach. And so they went down probably 2 months ago, and she contacted me and was like, hey, we're going to go to, it was like St. Pete, Clearwater. And she's like, we're going to go there and go look at some dolphins in a boat. Do you have any recommendations? So I got some contacts up there and helped them out with that. And then she started having some issues with the treatment, and the treatment was making her very, very, very weak. So the treatment was actually killing her. So Izzy decided that she's done with the treatments. She's done with it all. She's done. So the mom's like, okay, what do you want to do? And she said, I want to go to Florida and see the dolphins and get my toes painted and put my toes in the sand. So she got her nails done and came down here, and we went fishing for a little bit. She wanted to see like dolphins and sand dollars and seahorses and all that, but I have to I'm fishing, so I'm like, and the mom said that they went on a charter before and they sat there for like 2 hours and didn't catch a thing. So I'm like, well, I got to make up for that. So I'm like, here. So I grabbed some shrimp. We hit a dock right outside the canal and it was fish after fish after fish after fish. And she had these long nails, like longer than mine, and she just grabbed this fish, like death gripped it. And I'm just holding it, looking at it. And she's like, this thing is terrifying. And I'm like, but you're holding it. And she throws it in the water. She's like, all right, next one. I'm like,
what kind of fish was that?
It was a snapper.
Oh, okay.
It's a mangrove snapper.
Yeah.
So it had like the whole vampire tooth thing. And she's like, I'm like, touch its eyeball. She's like, But it was so cool. And as we were fishing, there were dolphins rolling behind us.
Oh, cool.
Playing. There was like a mom, a dad, and then like a little baby, probably like a 3-foot sized dolphin. It was so cute. And they were playing. So it was like the best of both worlds happening. And then we caught like 4 or 5 snapper, and her brother got to come, and he got to catch a couple fish too. And then Izzy was like, okay, we need to go get these dolphins. I want to go see the dolphins. So she's never been up close next to one, and you could see it swimming next to the boat. It was so cool. She had her little GoPro up. She's like, look. So then we went out and got some sand dollars and found a bunch of those. She got to take a couple dead ones home, the white ones, so she's going to paint them and do all that artsy stuff to them. And then we went to a restaurant for lunch. My friends at Swordfish Grill and Tiki Hut, they had us for lunch, and it was so good. So good. But that's when the wind started kicking in. So she got very cold very quick. And she gets very tired quick too. So about at lunch, she was eating her chicken tenders, kind of bobbing her head a little bit, dozing off. But I asked her, I'm like, we can go mini golfing if you want. I got some friends at mini golf that said they'd love to have you. And she looked at her mom and she's like, okay, I can do that. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, it's totally up to you. So they went mini golfing, and that was their day. It was like awesome.
A perfect day.
Yes, it was.
That's awesome.
That was a tough one.
How old is she?
12.
12.
Yeah. That was probably the toughest kid I've taken. But she was awesome. It was so good. It was, as weird as that sounds, it was amazing. It was so good. It's like, to look at a dolphin through her eyes is like a whole nother thing. Because usually I'm fishing, I'm like, oh, look, a dolphin, okay, whatever. But now I'm like, whoa, like, you just see it different.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
It gives me goosebumps.
Well, it's got to make you feel good to know that you could provide that experience for her.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I did. We came home and I'm like, I even got to sleep in, but I am so tired. My mom's like, that was emotionally exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was crazy. I'm like, yes. But it was worth it. It was worth it. I will do that again.
Yeah.
But that's why I do what I do. I love to, like, help and just make a difference, even if it's one kid. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's right. Cool. And then you got some tournaments coming up?
Yes, I have one next week at Lake Murray, and then another one at Hartwell, and then another one at Sandy Cooper.
Cool.
Yep.
Do you do a lot of pre-fishing when you do the tournaments? Or does your schedule not really...
Since I'm home in Florida now, I can't. Usually, like last year, I went up like 2 weeks before the tournament. I would fish and then give it a little break, and then I'd go up for the tournament and practice like a couple days before. But since I'm home now and not in Savannah, I'm going to go up there probably 3 or 4 days before the tournament. So I have like 3 to 4 days of practice fishing, and then I'm going to fish from there. But hopefully we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
That Lake Murray's a little tough sometimes. So I've been doing all these YouTube videos and texting my friends up there. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, why are you asking? I'm like, I need help. I'm over in Florida. They're like, well, you should come up here and hang out. I'm like, I have school, but thank you. So.
Well, cool. We'll definitely share your YouTube channel.
Yes.
I love your videos.
Thank you.
Your social links, all that.
Yep.
And your website.
Yes.
So.
That's it for now. As of right now. That I can think of.
Well, it was really cool catching up with you.
Thank you. You too.
And we'll probably do it again, maybe
Absolutely.
in another 100 episodes.
Yeah. They're having an iCast this year.
Yeah, I just heard that.
I got that email and I started screaming.
I hope I can make it, because now with my new job with Freedom Boat Club, I'm able to like be in Florida this time of year because it's cold up there and there's not a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
But summer is like crazy busy, so we'll see. But I'd really love to go to iCast.
Yeah,
I was really looking forward to it this last year.
Me too.
And I hope I get the opportunity to fish the Disney lakes.
Yes.
Through RBFF, because I missed my chance.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I caught my PB there.
Yep.
7-pounder.
And then the little girl that was there, she caught a big one as well, right? Mm-hmm. And I think she was the one that took my spot.
Yeah. She was in there. She's like reeling them in. She's like, all right, here's another one. Here's another one. And me and Anastasia are in front of the boat going, what the heck? And we're like casting out there, and I'm like, we're using live bait. I'm like, this is my stuff. And Anastasia's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, I caught a bluegill. I'm like, what is this? And she's like, that's a bluegill. I'm like, oh. She's like, really? You've never caught one? I'm like, nope, only bass. She's like, well, that's good. I'm like, yeah. Cool. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you at iCast this year. And I'll just keep following all your adventures and tournaments and all that stuff.
Thank you. All
right.
Thank you.
Thanks once again for listening. If you like this show, please support it by leaving a rating and review. It costs nothing but a few moments of your time. A lot of time goes into putting out a new episode each and every week. I pride myself on being consistent with them. And not only that, but providing you with high quality guests for you to enjoy, such as Chasten. If you have suggestions or requests, please email me at Angie@thewomanangler.com. I look forward to hearing from you, and until next week, stay safe and tight lines.